the owner's title insurance policy and why someone would choose to waive it. And if you are considering waiving that optional purchase, ask yourself these questions and look yourself in the mirror. Okay, so when TRID came out in 2015, they changed the forms. They made, well, they didn't make it, but they had on the forms that title insurance was an optional purchase. It always has been an optional purchase, but they have it under this section called Other. Okay, so it kind of looks like maybe it's not that important, and sometimes people decline to buy the owner's title insurance policy because, for one, they don't necessarily understand what it is they're purchasing or what the coverages actually are and how it protects them. You know, they'll gladly, honestly, they'll pay the homeowner's insurance and other types of insurance, but when it comes to this, they got a lot of questions. So if you're going to waive the owner's policy, consider asking yourself this: why would you put at risk your potentially largest asset? Okay, so from any misliens, judgments, defective recordings, anybody else's claim to the property, let's say through a will, things like that. Why would you risk that? Because title insurance covers you for the life that you own the property and even when you sell it, okay? So when we get a contract, we do what's called a 60-year title search, and we go back and look through the chain of title. We review any lien or anything that's ever been recorded against that property and find out what it is, where it came from, and make sure that when you finally own that property at closing, that the title is clear so that you're not on the hook for anything, okay? So there's two types of policies. There's the lender's policy if you're getting a mortgage loan, and there's the owner's policy. The lender's policy is mandatory, okay? So the lender is mandating that that policy is purchased to protect their interest in the property, which is the mortgage loan. So if they're getting a mandatory policy to protect their interest, why would you leave your interest completely unprotected? That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So also think about, do you know the seller? Do you know the seller's history? But do you know the seller before the seller? The seller before that seller? The seller before that seller? The person who owned the land before it was built? Do you know who recorded the mortgages and the liens on that's related to that property at the county? Did they do it correctly? Was there any fraud or forgery or post-forgery as those documents are being signed? We see fraud in the chain of title. It's not it's not a thing that we don't see. We see it all the time. So all of these things are protected, against, for you, for the life that you own the property. Did the seller renovate the property? Did they remodel the kitchen? Did they build out something on the house? Okay. Do you know where your property line is? Like, these things can all be protected because if there is a contractor and they have a subcontractor, maybe they didn't pay the subcontractor, right? It's called mechanics liens coverage, right? These things pop up and happen, and that's what title insurance protects. So if you're considering waiving the owner's policy, think about all of these small things, and some are large things, that could come up that would require legal mitigation. So you would have to go out and hire an attorney to get these things legally removed from the title. Usually it's called a judicial release of lien, where you have to go to court. So if you're spending $1,500 on an owner's policy, do you think that's more or less than what it would cost an attorney that you'd have to hire, go to court, gather evidence, provide it to a judge, and have them release it? More than likely, especially in the Washington, D.C. area, walking in the door somewhere is $1,500. Okay, so it could cost you in the tens of thousands of dollars to get things released. And also, if you don't get those released, before you can transfer ownership of that property, title, to the next person, because you're selling your home, and that lien or judgment comes up on title, and now it's yours, those have to be satisfied. So it could be, $10,000, $20,000, $50,000. That's your equity. Okay, so that's gone. You have to now pay that. Also, with the owner's policy, on the enhanced policy, as your property appreciates, the policy appreciates with it up to 150% of the value of your home. So think about it this way: as you pay down your mortgage, right, the lender's policy coverage is less because you owe less money. But as the value increases and the lender's policy decreases, your coverage increases. Okay, so you are covered at that point. So think about these things before you hit that optional decline button and you don't want to pay that $1,500. to buy owner's title insurance, because even though our claims rate as an industry is not high, I would say we're probably in 5 to 7%, but these national underwriting companies like Stewart, like Chicago, Fidelity, First American, on an annual basis, we spend in the millions of dollars in paying out claims. We are an insurance company. So it's one of those things where you don't need it until you need it. But when you need it, you're going to be really glad that you had it. So I'm Wade Vander Molen with Stewart Title. My job is to help realtors and lenders build their business, but also get educating buyers on what it is that they're purchasing, because we want to make sure that when your buyers close with us, that they're happy and they're satisfied and they're educated. So if you're on my website, dctitleguy.com, you can fill out a form below. I'd love to help you build your business or talk to you about how we can work together. If you're on YouTube, take a minute and subscribe, and you can get updates, my video updates in your inbox whenever I post something. And hopefully, and I look forward to working with you soon. Enjoy.